But for sure, people do see what they want to see. I remember one time I was in the woods in Alberta, and I saw what I thought was a wolf. I thought it was a wolf because they had a lot of wolf sightings up there, and I thought it would be pretty cool to see a wolf. And I thought what I saw was a wolf. I thought it was a wolf for 2 seconds. It was a squirrel. But over like a second, maybe 2, I thought it was a wolf. I'm like, what? Is that a fucking wolf?
Yeah.
I thought I saw a wolf. I'm like, oh, it's a fucking squirrel. That's crazy. How do you think a squirrel's a wolf?
Yeah.
Right?
Your brain just reaches for it.
Because my brain was reaching for wolf. Luckily, I'm logical, and it was clear that it was a squirrel. But I was seeing it in dense woods, and it was moving through, and it was gray. Yeah. And my perception was wrong in terms of distance. So I was like, is it? Oh.
Yeah, there is a phenomenon called gestalt reconfiguration that the psychologists talk about. And I know about this term from Mars. And the claim of Martian canals that used to be there. So there's this phenomena, there's these laws of gestalt reconfiguration. It's sort of like closure. Like if you see dots that almost make a circle, your brain will kind of make it a circle in its mind. Continuation, that if you see like dot dash lines, your brain will see a continuous line almost. It'll fill in the gaps. And so the same thing is thought to have happened to this famous astronomer, Percival Lowell, in the late 19th century. So he was like this like super rich dude in a Boston area. He was from a wealthy family of industrialists, and he got really into astronomy. And so he was convinced life was out there. That was, A, he was wealthy, so had means. B, he thought life was out there. There was a quote from his memoir, and it was something like, that what we call life is an inevitable detail of cosmic evolution as gravitation itself. So he just thought like, this always happens. Life always happens. And on top of that, he'd been told by the Boston ophthalmologist that he had the best eyesight the ophthalmologist had ever seen. So he had these like 3 things in his head. He had, I've got the means, so I can do it. I've got the best eyesight anyone's ever had, and I believe that aliens are out there. So he looked at Mars and he saw these 4-inch telescope or something, like a really blurry small telescope. But he was able to make out these little patterns, and he thought they were canal systems because he saw that going up all around the United States at the time. He even did it for Mars. And he saw, this is crazy, he drew a similar kind of picture. Maybe you can Google it, Jamie, Percival Lowell Venus, and you'll get these kind of spokes. And he saw these maps of Venus that, of course, were wrong, and they look like the back of an eye. They look like the blood vessels on the back of an eye. And so ophthalmologists actually think that's what he was seeing. So if you go to the left, the next one down, that one there. You see that? So that's the image he drew on the right, and that's the image of the back of an eye. And his eyesight, it's thought, was so good, he was seeing reflections of light in his own eyeball.
What?
And was seeing his own blood vessels. So he was right. His eyesight was freaking awesome. He was correct about that, but he misinterpreted it to be living things on Mars.
Oh, wow. So he's just a freak.
Yeah.
Just a biological freak.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So this is I think this story is fascinating because it's a real warning shot of if you really believe aliens are out there, like you're convinced about it, every time you see something weird, that's where your brain goes to first.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that that's the case. But I do wonder about some of the sightings. But it's always wondering because I have not had any experiences personally.
You've never seen one yourself?
Nothing that really freaked me out. Nothing that I could say was something that I could go, there was this time. No.
Well, I haven't either, and I think a lot of astronomers are in that same boat. And I think that's kind of strange. Right? You'd think the professional people who stare at the sky for a living...
That's real weird.
...would probably have the most number to rack up, unless we're all in, maybe a conspiracy or something.
But that is also the question is, are we looking at it wrong? Because if you're dealing with something that's so technologically advanced that it's a million years ahead of us, would it really be still doing that, flying around in ships?
Well, who knows?
Would it be able to teleport to areas? Would it be able to completely hide, be totally invisible?
But I guess the problem is there's all sorts of weird crap out there that we just don't understand. In the NASA UAP task force, they found this. Maybe you can find, Jamie, red sprite lightning. There's these lightning events that go upside down.
Yes.
And it happens in the upper atmosphere. And for years and years, pilots were reporting this, and nobody believed them. They were like, "This is bullshit. You kind of upside down red light. What the fuck are you talking about? That's crazy." And then people started videoing it. And once they got videos and high resolution photographs, you have to have like a shutter frame rate of like 1/100,000 seconds or something crazy to capture these things. And until like the 1980s, we just thought this was basically a myth. And then we realized this is going on in our own atmosphere, and we didn't even know about it. Right, so we don't
Look at
understand.
that. Tell me that doesn't look like War of the Worlds.
Right, if you saw that,
Oh my God, there's an enormous ship the size of Manhattan flying over us. Like, look, that's so crazy. Oh, there's probably ball lightning, right?
Yeah, same thing with ball lightning. I guess that one's maybe a little bit less. I think they've maybe made examples in the laboratory, but no one's got hard video of it in a real world setting.
There's no hard video of ball lightning? Oh, I thought there was.
All that shit online is fake shit.
Oh, no. Really?
It's some AI.
I talked to a guy who had something fly through his home, and he was a regular guy, didn't seem to be a liar. We were doing this TV show for the Sci-Fi Network, and it was all around Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And this guy said that he had this ball of light that came through his home.
Wow.
You know, but if ball lightning is real and it does just sort of fly around, that is possible. I mean, it wouldn't be
possible.
limited in terms of its ability to go into a structure.
It's kind of surprising we don't have any good video of it at this point.
Right.
But
I thought there was video. I'm such a dumbass.
This might be. I don't know. I'm not saying it's real, but this was 2 weeks ago.
Well, she's definitely not really there.
No,
so right away we're fucked because right away they're doing
she's
trickery.
green screened on top, but that
I know,
in the background.
But right away we're doing trickery because this lady is not really there. So you're asking me to say that this is real when I know that this lady is in front of a fucking green screen.
Just there's a video that was going around. That's all. A lot of people are making.
Can you show me it again?
That's what I was trying to.
Anton's got good stuff. Yeah,
okay, cool. Anton Petrov.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anton.
He's one of the good ones.
Cool. So this thing. What is Anton's take on this? Is it bullshit?
I haven't seen his video, but he's normally pretty grounded.
Yeah, they're mostly all bullshit, but just again, there's a new one someone thought they caught.
Interesting.
You know, my sister, when I was a kid, used to make me come into her bedroom and check for ball lightning. She'd heard the stories that it chases you around. So she'd be like, look behind the curtains. And she's my older sister. I was like a little 7-year-old having to like look around her room to make sure. But it's one of those things that like you get kind of terrified of the notion of it. Yeah.
Isn't part of the theory of it is that it involves tectonic plates and that there's some energy that can be generated from that.
No idea.
They fly out. Because I've heard of them actually flying out of the ground. Is that part of the theory?
It's not a field I follow closely.
Yeah.
I do worry about. I'm getting my pilot's license at the moment, so I'm having to learn a lot about weather and different weather phenomena. So that's been kind of fun learning about and different conditions for lightning and stuff. But yeah, it's ball lightning. I can safely say, as a pilot, I've never seen.
Well, if you're out there flying around as a pilot, I really hope you see a UFO.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm always looking out for it.
Of course.
I'm like, man, like, how can I? Everyone else seems to have seen these things. How come I've not seen one? I'm the alien guy. Like, this doesn't make sense. So, yeah.
I wonder what percentage of the population has actually seen something that they think wasn't from here.
Well, a majority of Americans believe in alien UFOs, I think.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And this is also a thing that you were ridiculed for relentlessly up until, I would say, I think the real breaking of the ice was that 2017 New York Times report. Mm-hmm. So when the New York Times had it on the cover.
The Pentagon videos,
that was probably the first time that people, well, it's in the Times.
That shifted the Overton window.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually made, to be honest, that's made the kind of stuff we do, the SETI work we do. So SETI's Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. We've kind of rebranded it these days as techno-signatures. But that used to be the sort of thing that Congress would always ding and be like, you can't do that. You can't have, taxpayer money going to looking for aliens. That's ridiculous. But ever since the UFO, the UAP phenomena really caught on, the Overton window has shifted, and now what we do seems completely like, if anything, like too traditional and we're too conservative in our approaches compared to what other people want to do. So now you've got Avi, who's trying to do Project Galileo, right, to actually look for UFOs in the atmosphere and stuff. And I think it's a valid point. Like you can't say that looking for aliens on an exoplanet is good science, but looking for aliens in the atmosphere is not science. Like that, it's still, you can design an experiment to do it. It's still scientific. There's no magical reason why once it enters the atmosphere, it suddenly doesn't become science.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good argument why we should do it.
What is your take on all these UAP whistleblowers who talk about crash retrieval programs and all these dark-funded, top secret, beyond anyone's ability to go look into them?
I don't know what to make of it. It's fascinating. It's because I can't believe maybe some of them are pulling our leg and bullshitting it for the fame or whatever. But there's so many credible people that have come forward. It's hard. It's difficult to pass what's going on. But I do believe everyone's fallible, right? So it is possible. There's, as I said, there's so many millions of hours in the air of these pilots and things. There's so many so many people, so many cell phones, so much out there that it's not surprising that 1 in a million times a mistake or something could happen. And it's all about knowing that spurious rate. Like how often do you just randomly generate bullshit in this whole system that we've got? And we don't know what that bullshit occurrence rate is. So as a scientist, it's hard to pass it. I don't think we can ingest it realistically unless, every time they say they've got the disclosure thing, right? We're going to get disclosure soon. And every time it feels like we don't get the craft, we don't get the technology, we don't get a body. So yeah, sure. If you give me the technology and let me dissect it in my lab, then I could be convinced. But every time it seems like we get all the way up to that point where it's like, it's going to happen, and then
it's intensely frustrating. It's intensely frustrating to even be remotely interested in it because every new thing you're like, what is this it? Is this going to be a thing?
They're
and
like pulling on your
never is.
heartstrings. It's like a girl who keeps texting you saying like, we'll go on a date, it's going to be great next time, and then she just lets you down every time.
What is the name of that Age of Disclosure documentary? That's what it is, right? Yeah. There's a documentary that they premiered at Sundance or at South by Southwest rather here that was really good. And it is essentially just all these different people that worked on these programs spilling the beans. And they all have pretty similar stories. And the bottleneck seems to be that all this stuff was done without congressional approval, which is highly illegal. So all the research, all this hidden back engineering programs, all this stuff in conjunction also with military contractors. So those are the ones that build the jets and the rockets, and so you have to go to them to help with this stuff and to try to back engineer this stuff. So then there's this competitive advantage they would have over other military contractors that don't get a crashed UFO. And so then people are getting sued, people are going to jail. There's a lot of money that was allocated for these things that was done through lies. And there's a lot of problems with that. And with this documentary is essentially calling for mass amnesty and saying, look, if this is real, and they think it is, this is a situation that is, forget about whatever laws we have in terms of finance. This is a much bigger deal. There is direct evidence of an actual life form that is not Homo sapiens, that can do things that we can't do, that visits us. And occasionally they lose a craft, which is also hard to believe, right? How they get here?
They're not very good pilots, right?
Richard Dolan actually has a pretty good explanation for some of them. And it's high-altitude nuclear bombs that we detonated during the testing days. So during the testing days, after the war, from 45 to, I think, they tested them, when did they stop blowing up nukes? But there was, just in the United States, thousands of nuclear detonations. And a bunch of them they did in the ocean, and a bunch of them they did in the sky. Yeah. They did them like 150 miles up. They detonated nukes. I thought they only did it once with Starfish Prime. But no, they did it at different altitudes. Right. They just tried things. And the idea is that if there was something in the sky anywhere remotely near that and had no idea this was going to go off, and they detonate a nuke in the sky, that this thing would crash.
Oh, knocked out the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story. I just need to see the evidence, right?
Yeah. It's the best story.
Yeah. I think it could be, in Iceland, most people believe in fairies. And if you go back, 100 years, most people believe that.
Most people in Iceland believe in fairies.
Yeah.
Wow. What do they think they are?
I don't know. Elves, maybe elves or fairies. Can't remember the exact word they use. Yeah, but they
Soviet. What does this say, Jamie? What they did?
Those are the last high altitude tests.
Okay, so the
1962.
last high altitude. Look at how many they did. They just kept doing them.
Yeah.
They just kept doing them. Look at all these fucking tests. These are all high altitude nuclear bombs.
So a bunch failed. Yeah.
That is insane. Yeah, a bunch failed. Look at all these ones that failed. What happened to those? They just fall into the ocean? Good luck. Figure it out, fish.
Whale had that for lunch.
Yeah, figure it out. That's where Godzilla comes from. Literally, the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is that there's whenever we have this weird stuff. Aliens is. I read about this recently. Aliens is almost too good of an explanation,
Right.
because it can explain everything. There's nothing you can't explain with aliens, right? Whatever it is, and yet so it has. I call it unbounded explanatory capability. You can explain absolutely fucking
God's.
everything. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
God of the gaps, quite literally. Whenever you see something odd, you can just inject your God to explain that. And yet at the same time, on the other side of the coin, it also has unbounded avoidance capacity. Because you could say to me, look, I saw a UFO at this site on Monday, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday. So come Thursday and we'll see it together because it's happening every day. And I come with you, I don't see it, and be like, okay, well, it just didn't. I guess it changed its mind. It didn't happen today. That doesn't disprove what you saw. And similarly, if I go, people have said, we've surveyed the surface of Mars. We don't see any life on it. I can't disprove there's life on Mars. There could be life underneath a rock that we just haven't turned over yet. You can never disprove. You can't prove a negative. So it could always be there. So aliens is almost unscientific as a hypothesis because it can explain everything, and yet there's no experiment I can do to ever prove it's wrong.
Right.
And that puts it in a very precarious position scientifically.
Right. Yeah, we're just sort of in this adolescent stage of understanding. And we if they are real, we really don't know right now. And that's the weirdest part, is that there's so many compelling stories.
Yeah.
It's also, the weirdness of it is so exciting to us. The weirdness of an intelligent life form looking at us is like so exciting to us that we want it to be real.
You want to believe.
Oh, me more than anybody. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I go back and forth on it's bullshit. My general belief is that a large number of these things that we're seeing are top secret military aircrafts. And I think that's always existed. That's always been the case. And they probably have some incredible technology that we're not aware of. That's the majority of what I think is happening. But that doesn't make sense when you go really far back. That doesn't make sense when you go to the Kenneth Arnold sightings. Like if his estimations of the speed of those things is accurate, you're dealing with something that for sure wasn't available in 1952, at least as far as we know. Also, the idea that that was Nazi technology, this is something that's always talked about, and Richard Dolan talked about in his book as well. They were already gone. Right? They had lost the war. There's no way they're launching technology that's above and beyond anything anybody is aware of while society's in shambles, right? There's no way. They don't have a military anymore. It's over. The war's over. So that doesn't make sense. So if it's not them, who is it? Is it someone that's already here? Is it something that's been here the entire time? And then that gets really weird. And people go, well, where's the evidence of that? Well, right. There's no evidence of that. But there's also so much room in the ocean. The ocean is, if I was going to hide, that's where I would hide. We literally can't go there. There's too much of it. You could go into the ocean and put a base underground in the middle of the ocean, and 100% we're not going to find it.
Yeah, I would just say whatever your hypothesis is, the most constructive thing to do is to think about how can we prove or disprove it.
We can't.
That's what I want.
Until
right?
something, yeah. But this is the most frustrating thing about this disclosure jazz. Because if they really do have something, boy, you're fucking over the entire human race by not releasing this just because you're worried about Congress getting mad at you. That's a real problem. That's a real problem. That's what this movie tries to address. And Richard Dolan talks about that in his book as well. And a bunch of people have brought up that point. There's a lot of legal issues that are going to arise. And a lot of people could be very vulnerable if this does turn out to be the case, that they have had this technology since the 1940s.
Yeah. I mean, we can argue about history, but I think the most constructive thing is just to design an experiment. And I think, Abby's idea, Project Galileo, is a good one. Like we should try and survey the sky more systematically. And we've got now the Vera Rubin telescope, which is doing like literally a movie of the entire sky every night. So I think as we grow in our capabilities, it's going to get harder and harder for this UAP hypothesis to evade all of these facilities that we're building in a public domain. Right? This is public data, not military controlled facilities.
They're very aware of our capabilities and very aware that we can do this, so they camouflage themselves.
Yeah, but then you're starting to get into the sort of exponentially contrived, because they're in our heads and they know everything. Then it becomes unfalsifiable. So we're sort of leaving the world of science. But I think when we think about as a scientist, like we're doing this experiment with JWST for exoplanets, like we are looking for life right now with James Webb. There was even a claim for a planet K2-18b. There was a claim a few months ago. It's an ocean world. It's thought to be an ocean world. It's about 2.5 times the size of the Earth. And we detected this molecule with weak significance. I want to emphasize that. It was only weakly detected, called dimethyl sulfide. And I think it's the same molecule which gives truffles that smell that they have. Oh. And it's something that bacteria and phytoplankton make on the Earth. So they detected the hint of this molecule, and as far as we know, only life can make this molecule on the Earth. We don't have any other process that can make it except for living creatures. And so it was a lot of excitement about that. And it turned out in that case, with follow-up observations, it maybe is not as secure as they thought, and it actually doesn't appear to be there anymore. Damn. But I guess the point is that James Webb can do the experiment. It is sensitive enough to look at a planet which is 100 light years away and detect the molecular signatures of living creatures on that planet. So we are entering a very exciting era where we can look at their planets. We don't have to wait for them to visit us anymore. We can actually start surveying where they're at and seeing what's up. So I think that's going to, and that's just simple life, of course. That's not even technological life. So I think we're going to get answers. And the only way to do this is to keep, supporting missions like NASA's mission with these future observatories that are trying to get us to that point. We're trying to build a mission now called the Habitable Worlds Observatory, HWO. It'll probably get renamed at some point. Like I think it'll be like the Carl Sagan Observatory. Probably will be a rebranding for it. Is my hunch. And that thing's trying to take photos, like we saw for Alpha Centauri. It's trying to do photos, but of Earth-sized planets. JWST can't image Earth-sized planets; they're too small. This thing will be able to take photos of Earths around other stars, and we'll see the pale blue dot of light of that other world, and we'll get its chemical fingerprint. We'll be able to sniff its atmosphere. We'll pull their pants down, right? We'll get the whole thing. So the aliens can't hide from us forever, right? Our technology is getting to the point where we're going to find them in their own home.
When they came out with the James Webb Telescope, how long was the development process? And where are they at now in terms of a future better version of something like that?
Yeah, it was a long process. I mean, almost as soon as Hubble launched, they started planning the successor to Hubble, which was James Webb. It was famously over budget. I think the original budget was supposed to be $800 million and it ended up costing $10 billion. Isn't that crazy? It just went completely overblown. But this is always because there was some bad contractors. Astronomers tend to underestimate their budgets a little bit when they're planning these things out, and there's inflation. So these things, if you do a project over 20 years, which is what it ended up taking, because it was 1995, I think, and then we got it in was it 2021, 2022, actually ended up getting in the sky. So it took a long time, right, for that project to develop. We are starting the HWO project now. There's already design teams, working groups that are putting the first, blueprints together of what this thing would look like. But of course, it's in jeopardy because the White House wanted to slash the NASA science budget by 50%, which basically just ends that entire program. There's about 40 missions that would end, NASA missions that would end in that White House budget. But fortunately, the Senate readjusted it back up to pretty much last year's levels.
Why don't you go talk to those people? Why don't you give a speech the way you just laid it out for us and how fascinating and important this stuff is? I don't think these assholes know.
I've been to DC. I have lobbied, but you only talk to their aides, right? That's all you end up talking to.
Yeah, you've got to get in front of Congress. You've got to get in front of these people where the American people see it on television and get a chance to understand, like, this is...
I do. Yeah.
This is like one of the most important things to look for that you could even imagine.
And we can do it. We actually, for the first time in human civilization, we have the ability to do the experiment, is there life on another planet?
What is this, Jamie? This is some of the images from the Hubble?
This is showing what the new telescope, the Roman scope telescope,
Yeah, Roman.
would show.
It's just a huge field of view,
So
Roman.
that picture is what the Hubble got, and then it's zooming out to show you what.
So Roman's
you would get from
happening,
the new
hopefully.
one.
Yeah, Roman should be flying.
Oh. Wow.
Roman, interestingly, is it's military technology, it's spy technology. So apparently the NSA had 2 Hubble-class space telescopes in their basement. They just were like, said to NASA, by the way, we're not using these. They're out of date for us. Do you want one? And NASA took it and turned it into Roman.
That's crazy.
They just have them lying around.
That's what I'm talking about. These motherfuckers have technology they're keeping from us. What could be done better? Like what is, if you had an unlimited budget and an enormous supply of brilliant minds to get together to coordinate something, what would be how you would set it up to make it even more powerful?
For what goal?
Seeing further, seeing clearer, being able to precisely locate planets and get a much better view of them.
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, whenever we improve our instrumentation, our precision, by a factor of anywhere from 3 up to 10, let's say, in that ballpark, like a big improvement, you get surprises. You find stuff you never expected in the universe. And we've seen that every time. So
Every time.
Yeah, I think whenever you listen to the universe in a different way. So we were, for years and years, we've just been using our eyes, basically optical light, to look at the universe and X-rays and radio waves. And then recently we started doing LIGO, and LIGO's listening for gravitational waves from the universe instead. So it's like listening to the acoustic oscillations of the universe rather than seeing it. And again, as soon as we started doing that, we discovered tons and tons of merging black holes, and it's just totally transformed our idea of how black holes merge and form. So whenever we do something we've never done before, look in a different way, the universe constantly surprises us. So it's not going to be a single mission. It's not going to be, we should all just put all our eggs in this one basket of Habitable Worlds Observatory. We need to have this multi-prong attack of let's just keep pushing everything and making sure it's a significant improvement from what came before in terms of the sensitivity, and making sure the scientists to actually interpret the data at the end of the day, right? You can't do science unless the data is A, public, and then B, people are actually there to study it. So those are the 2 key ingredients. Just have great telescopes and great people.
Is funding the biggest bottleneck for it right now? Or is it a lack of interest from the right amount of people? Like, what is it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, HWO, we're talking about a mission that's going to cost at least $10 billion. And the NASA budget is about 26 billion. So it's eating up already. I mean, if you built it in 1 year, it would eat up almost half of the budget. So it's impossible for that mission to be built in a year, even though probably we could if we had the money. Maybe in a year or 2, you could probably build something like that. So that, yeah, if you doubled NASA's budget, it would come twice as fast for sure. You'd have it in maybe 5 years rather than waiting to 2050. That's what we're talking about for HWO. It's just kind of depressing when you think about it.
Well, what's kind of depressing is like weird stuff happens. Like when the Biden administration left, $93 billion in loans just went off to like weird places, like which is more than they had done in 15 years. Like, you guys could have done that.
You have the money.
You guys had the money to make the most insane telescopes.
Yeah.
We could find out more.
Yeah,
Or-
I think Carl Sagan had a quote once. He said that the entire SETI program was equivalent to 1 attack helicopter. If you did like the entire SETI in its maximal form, would have been the cost of 1 attack helicopter.
Dude, if I was president, I'd go ham. I'd bring in all the cosmologists. I'm like, what do we got to do?
Let's figure this
Let's
out
get
now.
crazy. Let's get crazy. You guys want to get rich?
This image shows telescopes that we have used, and then a few that are being made. So down here is the size of the James Webb Telescope. It's all the way down.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Wow.
It's only 6.5 meters, so it's limited. They couldn't really make it any bigger because you couldn't get a rocket that could fit it. So actually, Starship could launch that thing without any unfolding. It wouldn't have 200 points of failure. It could actually pretty much fit inside the fuselage of Starship. And even better, it would cost less because a huge cost in these space telescopes is making them really light. So the mirrors are like these special honeycomb structures to make them super light so they're low cost to launch. But if you have Starship, it can launch like 100 tons, I think it is. you could literally just take these ground-based telescopes you already have and just shove them in there and, obviously put some chassis on it, but it'd be way, way cheaper to launch these things. So, I mean, I'm very excited about the prospect of having heavy launch capabilities that Starship give us. That plus investment in something like these kind of giant telescope designs, we could launch some truly gargantuan things into space and probe those atmospheres and see those aliens and what they're up to. So I would say the future can be bright because we have the means to do it if we have the will to do it.
It just seems to be a puzzle that most human beings on Earth are fascinated with. The fact that is inadequately funded is enraging.
Yeah.
It's enraging. It just makes you crazy. Like, out of all the things that we should be interested in, space seems to be the big one. And it was until we were all fucked up by light pollution. I think if we didn't have light pollution, I think people would have a much greater sense of the majesty of our existence in the cosmos. It's such a bummer. It really is.
Have you been to a dark skies area?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've talked about it too many times in the podcast to repeat it, but there was a time when I went to the array in the Big Island,
Mauna Kea.
Mauna Kea.
Yeah.
And I went up there on the perfect night. There was no moon, and it was like being in the hub of the universe. It was like being in a spaceship, a convertible spaceship. That's what it felt like. It was so incredible. The entire sky was filled with stars. The Milky Way was beautifully clear. And it was like life-changing. I've gone up there 3 times since, never caught it that way again.
You get kind of like the overview effect. You heard that with astronauts when they go up to space and they see the Earth. And I think we should launch all our presidents into space.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Bring them back, but let them have that overview, because I think that is...
Launch it with Katy Perry. Everyone has to go up with Katy Perry. She has to bring a daisy.
She's the guide.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be great for you. I also think they should have a mushroom experience, but that's just me. But going into space, just being able to see it used to be the norm for human beings. There was no light pollution. You could get away from the campfire, you lay on your back, and you see everything. Yeah. And I think that gave us a better understanding. First of all, it made us more humble, for sure. You're confronted with this impossible image in front of you. And now that we know what that is, so ancient man's looking at it, it's just incredible, beautiful lights, and they're tracking the constellations and marking them down, and this is what this is. Let's call this one Leo. But when you get to what we know now, and what we know, those are all fireballs in the sky that are bigger than our sun, and they're millions of miles away, and that you're seeing just a tiny fraction of what the actual universe is, which is really nuts. Yeah. When you see, like, I'm sure you've seen this, but maybe people haven't. When there's an image of what you see in the night sky, when you have a full, clear view of the cosmos, and it's this tiny little itty-bitty little thing. And yet it's still insane and majestic. And I think that we've gotten so arrogant because of cities, because everybody just sees this black cloud over us, this curtain over the sky. And maybe you see the moon, but that's it. You see a dot here or a dot there. That's the only stars you see, are the most bright ones, or Venus. And then you don't get a sense of what we're really doing.
Yeah, it makes me sad when...
So here's the inner city sky, suburban, urban, rural, excellent dark sky. But then what the thing about the observatory is that it's above the clouds. We drove through the clouds when we saw it.
Yeah, that doesn't even do it justice.
No, not even close. But there's pictures of it. See if you can, the Mauna Loa Observatory.
Yeah, I think what makes me sometimes sad as an astronomer is sometimes people say, what's the point of looking for life out there? Like, I care about the bread on the table economy and jobs and factories and stuff like that. I care about the things that really directly affect my life. But I think there has to be things that we do as humans, existential things like, are we alone in the universe? How can it be a bigger question than that?
That's what I saw.
Yeah.
Maybe even better than that.
And when you see something like that, you realize that there's more to this life than just subsistence, of just staying alive for the sake of staying alive. There are grander things than what we have on this planet.
Also, it's so frustrating that we're very capable of curing all those problems for the vast majority of people on this planet if we weren't so fucking greedy.
Yeah.
If we really treated humanity like a community, we could completely eliminate starvation and poverty the way it exists today.
Yeah.
We can completely just no one's even tried.
Yeah, the inequality right now is so out of control in this country, in the world.
Well, in the country, but in the world, the craziest thing that I've ever heard is that $34,000 is 1% of the world.
Yeah.
The 1%ers, the people that run the world, that everybody likes to think they're the people pulling the strings. No, that's you, bitch. You work at Starbucks. You're a 1%er.
Yeah.
If you work full time at Starbucks, you are the 1% of the world. You're the string puller, but you're not, right? No. No, it's the world's really kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's the 0.001 or whatever it is. Yeah, that's the problem.
Both things can be accomplished if we really directed our resources in a kind, moral, and ethical way. We would solve that first and then get everybody excited about solving the cosmos.
Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous that in astronomy, we used to always be completely federally supported. There was some private funding, but by and large, it was pushed and pulled by federal grants and federal money. And I think that's generally healthy, right? Because then it's everyone can apply for it. It's not about being mates with Jeff Bezos or being friends with certain high influence people.
Right.
But we're getting to this stage increasingly where private money is having a big influence, even in astronomy and other fundamental sciences as well. And then the people that succeed end up being not necessarily the Einsteins, the most brilliant people. They're just the people that have the right connections and can pull the strings and we're on the island at the right time with that kind of stuff. And that's just kind of gross.
It's gross, yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
It's also gross that humans can control resources. I mean, think about all the problems that they have on Earth that are directly a result of someone wanting to control natural resources. That really should be everybody's. Mm-hmm. If we were really smart about it, we look at the oil's clearly everybody's, the water's clearly everybody's. We should all agree that all the stuff that we need should be everybody's.
The air, yeah.
Yeah. It's like to charge you for air would be wild, right? But you can charge you for water, or they could charge you for oil. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that we have allowed that system to be in place where an individual can literally be in control of the blood of the earth that we use to make plastic and electronics.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
Right. So when you get that, if you do go to, I've never been to space, I've never had that, I've certainly seen clear night skies, but I think when you look out, you see not countries and boundaries. You just see this, we're all in this together.
That's what
on
everybody
this tiny
says.
little fragile thing. This is it. Like we could fuck this up so easily, but we could also make it so glorious if we work together.
That also gives me pause about this whole idea that the aliens are like space daddies, come to keep us from blowing ourselves up. Like that might be like very idealistic thinking. And if they don't exist, we're on our own.
That's the God delusion, right?
Right.
It's like it's wishing for that fatherly figure to come down and teach me the error of my ways and look after us. And that's just look. The cavalry ain't coming, Joe. This is it.
Right.
It's on us. It's on our skin to solve this freaking problem.
Well, I was like when the United States was about to bomb Iran, I was like, okay, well now we're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Let's see if the aliens step in and go, hey, cut the shit. They didn't.
No.
Maybe they only step in when you use nukes. Maybe they have like a threshold of acceptable aggression that they allow.
Yeah, I don't think there's any backstop. There's no backstop.
No, I think it's up to us.
Yeah.
I think we have to figure it out. But I think we're all aware of that, and that's kind of the cool part of this whole, the weirdness of this experience that we're going through is that it's not guaranteed and that there's a bunch of struggle that really has to take place. There's a lot of thinking that has to take place, a lot of talking and an understanding and a recognition that some of our behavior is totally illogical. And
Most of it.
A lot of it totally counterproductive, but like why? Like why are we still behaving like territorial apes? Like what is it, even though you're not and I'm not, Jamie's not, like a lot of people aren't, it's not everything. It's not every interaction that humans have.
Yeah.
But it's enough that it's still pushing the worst aspects of our life, which is war and poverty and crime and violence. It's still pushing all those things.
Yeah. But I mean, it's hard because, you became like the top podcast and because there's competition and that competition probably drove you to make the podcast better and better and better. And similarly, as a scientist, we're in competition with each other. So there's almost a catalyst system embedded into science that I want to not like crush my enemy or something. I'm not trying to crush the other scientists, but I certainly I know what the level field is. And if you want to stand out, you have to bat above that level. And so that drives me to become, I'm definitely influenced by competition. I feed off it.
Yes,
And it makes me a better scientist when I know someone's breathing down my neck at my data. I'm like, that's it. Let's just crank out the hours. We're going to do the best we can. But if I know no one's looking at my data set and I've got 3 years to myself, I'm just going to chill. I'm just be like, there's no urgency here. Let's think about other things. Let's do other stuff. So that competition, like you said, is really double-edged. And I don't know, we need to figure out a way to channel it because, I did martial arts as a kid a lot. And one of the things I really...
What'd you do? Which style?
I did Taekwondo, I did a bit of Muay Thai, and I did some Shotokan karate, but mostly Taekwondo. And I learned a lot from that, just mentally about myself. I really want my kids to do martial arts because I feel like it's just a transformative experience for learning how to master yourself. And one of the things I really learned was how to channel negative feelings into something productive. Right, so I was feeling really cut up about a breakup with a girlfriend at the time, and I was just beating the crap out of these punch bags. And I was going training every night, every session I could get my hands on, and then it ended up turning me into this like beast. I was like ripped. I got a 6-pack, and I was training with the national squad, and I got pretty decent. And it wasn't like I was aiming to do that. It was just an outlet for this anger. And then I looked back at it and realized, hey, I've managed to turn this negative thing into something really productive. And I've tried to, whenever I have those kind of feelings, I always try to twist them in the same way. I remember when I first arrived at Harvard, I had the same thing. I arrived at Harvard and all the names in the corridors were famous professors. And I was just freaking out. I was like, fuck, I've got to have coffee with this guy, these legends. Like, how am I going to like handle a conversation with these dudes? And I remember I was kind of like a bit of an outcast because I wasn't in anyone's group at the time. And I remember walking down the corridor and hearing them laugh at me, saying, oh, here comes the moon. I heard there's a moon guy in the group or something. They thought the idea of looking for moons was crazy. So they're all kind of laughing. I came around the corridor and, kind of like, it was kind of awkward. And I felt like they all looked down at me, and they probably did back then. And after a few years, I know I earned their respect because I was out publishing them, and I was driven by that competition. I was like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove to you how good I am by publishing twice what you publish. I'm going to do better science. I'm going to do more of it. I'm going to make myself so good, you can't ignore me. It'd be ridiculous to ignore what I'm doing because I'm so far ahead of you. That's what I wanted to do. And I got to a point where I knew they wanted me in their group now. They were like, oh, come join our group. And I didn't let them get close because I knew I performed better when I play that game in my head that everyone's against me. It was just sort of a mind fuckery. And it's that same, I get it, yeah, same thing as martial arts. It's like learning what are the tricks, the hacks that make you operate well, but being conscious of it. And I think as a society, if we can do that, there's a hack. Competition is a hack that makes us super productive, but it's just a way, can we hack it and channel it in a conscious way towards a productive outcome?
Yeah, turn it into enthusiasm and turn it into inspiration instead of just be overcome with jealousy and rage, which is what happens to the weaker of minds. Yeah. Interesting enough with this podcast, I don't think of it in a competitive way at all. And I never have. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's successful is because this podcast, even though it might be the number one podcast, it's cooperative with, I don't know how many podcasts. A giant number of my friends do podcasts. I promote their podcasts. I have them on. I'll do their podcast sometimes. We all promote each other. So it's a
community.
I mean, I don't know how other people do it, but I don't do it that way. I think only about what I want to do. And I think the only way to have all of your resources, all of your concentration, and all of your efforts put entirely into the subject matter and what the conversation is going to be like, you shouldn't be thinking about anything else. You shouldn't be thinking about results. I just think about process. That's all I think about. All I think about is like, okay, he's going to come in. What are my questions? What are we going to talk about? And I'm excited about this. I'll listen. I'll drive my car. I'll listen to the sauna to things. And I just really get worked up about it. But I don't do it for competition. I do it because I think I'm super lucky to be able to do it. And I think it would be a horrible misuse of that fortune if I didn't treat it with respect, if I didn't do my best every time I do it. So I just do that. And that's it.
Yeah. But from the martial arts, that you must have a competitive drive there, right?
Yeah, but it's not in podcasting.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like it would be because that's the thing I'm the most successful in, which is kind of weird. I'm competitive in everything, but I'm very competitive with myself. I'm very self-critical, which is one of the things that I learned from martial arts is if you don't have an accurate assessment of your abilities and you think you're better than you really are, if you can't see someone do something, oh, that guy's better than me, then you're missing out. Because you're also missing out on the opportunity for you personally to get better. If you're delusional and you think you're better than you are, maybe you won't work as hard, or maybe you won't correct some of the errors in your technique and maybe your approach and your tactics. You have to constantly be improving this thing. And you have to have people that are better than you that you train with all the time. So that sort of cooperative thing that came out of martial arts where you need killers to become a killer, that helped me so much in comedy because my approach to comedy was different than most of the other comedians that had television deals and movie deals. They all wanted to be the man and they wanted to be at the top and kind of keep everybody else down. There was a lot of that going on. There's a few people that were cooperative, but I was ultra cooperative. Like I would prop people up. I want them to get better. I'll tell them how to get better. I'd help them. I'd help young guys. I'd go on the road with people funnier than me. Like I wanted it. Because I know from martial arts, this is the only way. You don't get comfortable and get better. You got to be like really uncomfortable a lot of the time to get better.
Yeah.
But that getting better is the ultimate. That's what the goal is for everyone, and it can't just be for you. If you have this short-sighted idea, like I have to be the king, like no, you're missing out on the whole thing. Yeah. The whole thing is you need a bunch of kings. You need everybody to be awesome, and then we all rise together. That's how it has to be.
Yeah, in science, it so often goes both ways, though. It's the same in comedy and science. I mean, you think about Isaac Newton, who's famously such an asshole, that guy, right?
A lot of comics like that, too. Big name guys.
Yeah. He
guys.
Gets to the top and then spends most of his subsequent career just crushing other people down, right? And there's that need to be singularly recognized as I want everyone to see that it's just me and it's only me. But there's the scientists I think we all admire and get on with the best, actually the ones who are collaborative, who like comedy, like share and want to do it together. So I think there's a lot to. Sometimes comedians and scientists should interact more, I think. When I was a student, there used to be this thing called Fame Lab, and they used to get stand-up comedians to come in and teach scientists how to talk to the public, how to do scientific communication. And they said it's the same, I don't know, maybe you disagree, it's the same kind of thing. You have to have the kind of the balls to stand up there and just put yourself in that situation.
It helps if you have an English accent.
In comedy?
No, talking about the cosmos.
That probably helps.
It does.
In comedy, it doesn't help me.
I could help. It works with Jimmy Carr. It works with Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah, they've got it.
There's a certain air of respectability that comes with an English accent. It doesn't come with an American accent.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot to... public speaking is something a lot of scientists... It's the same because there's so many brilliant scientists and they just can't... They can't
that's
handle
unfortunate.
This kind of situation.
And then there's so many people that call themselves science educators that don't really know what they're talking about, and they're talking about science. And these are the people that are like the figureheads.
Right.
Unfortunately, instead of the actual people that are doing the science. Yeah, it's a skill. I mean, it's a skill that anyone can learn. If you can talk to a friend, you can talk to the public. You just have to learn how to do it, and you have to get better at it. It's not impossible. And yeah, you're going to have anxiety, but that's a challenge that you should just embrace that challenge and get over it. And just have notes and be prepared and practice, just like everything else. Like if you're intelligent enough to be a cosmologist, you're intelligent enough to talk publicly in front of a bunch of people about cosmology. And you're going to have a certain amount of enthusiasm that you're going to have to figure out the right way to convey it to people to make it infectious. And that's where it gets complicated. Because some people are brilliant, but they're bland and flat. And, I'm sure you've had professors like that, right?
Yeah.
And they're brilliant, but they're just like, oh, my God, I'm droning out with this motherfucker.
I've slept through a few lectures in my time.
Yeah, and then there's people like Carl Sagan who are just fascinating to listen to the way he talks.
Yeah,
magnetic, the charisma. It's a thing. It's a factor, you know? It's not the only one, but it's a thing. It's a part of it. And
but you think you could teach someone to be Sagan-esque?
No. I think you can't teach someone to be Dave Chappelle. But you can teach them to be a better version of who they are, for sure. Mm-hmm. And then extroverts are extroverts and introverts are introverts. And it's just like, you're not going to be the same person as Jim Carrey. You have to be that guy to be that guy. but you can learn how to better express yourself, and you can learn. There's techniques. There's an understanding of how the human mind that's interpreting what you're saying. How are they perceiving this? Are they perceiving your emotions? Are they feeling? Maybe there's an anecdotal story that you can bring out with passion that connects these people to you, so that they can understand what made you so locked into this idea.
Yeah.
And then they'll go, oh, and then they feel it instead of just blandly reciting facts and just doing it because this is the way you do it with your coworkers and your peers.
Yeah, I learned that through YouTube. You know, I do a lot of YouTube communication. And when I first started the channel, I remember I was copying. I was looking at other stuff that I see was doing well, and I was trying to like transplant that style of video onto my own. And it wasn't me. It was kind of like too animated, too, you know, I'm more of a chill person. And this was like, hey, let's talk about space. You know, that's just like not, it doesn't jive with me that much. But I put it on. And then I was doing this for a while, and we just kind of flatlined in subscribers after a while. And I was like, I think I'm going to pat this in. But before I do, I'll just make 1 or 2 videos the way I really want to do it, and then I'll stop. And so I made these like super deep dive, and I kind of opened up a little bit personally. And you have to be a little bit vulnerable to let your, you know, I'm a romantic. So I wanted that romantic element of astronomy to come out. You know, why am I so passionate about the stars? What are the deep questions that move me since I was a kid? Those, you have to let that personality come out. And once people realize why you personally are so fascinated by this, it becomes infectious, right?
Yes.
And then they start to get the same bug. So yeah, I learned as a communicator that certainly being willing to be vulnerable, it feels very strange as a scientist to talk about vulnerability and emotional connection, but unless you let that in, it becomes dry. It becomes inaccessible.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that applies to almost any kind of public speaking, whether it's stand-up comedy. I think it even applies to music. You know, when someone is singing the blues and you just know that they've had some heartache.
Yeah.
Like I always said that's one of the reasons why Janis Joplin was so good. When she would sing "Take a Little Piece of My Heart," you believed that.
Yeah.
You believed it. Like it was coming out like that. That's a lady that's experienced some pain.
I was thinking with Alanis Morissette's.
Yes.
That Jagged Little Pill.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my dad talk about that album all the time. Like, there's
yeah.
so much rawness in
Yeah.
that damn album.
Yeah.
You can't imitate that.
Yeah, you can't imitate that. And you can't imitate that with comedy. You can't imitate that with anything. But I think you could teach people how to do that when they talk about science. It could be taught.
Yeah, find their own authentic
Yeah.
voice and
Yeah.
use that. Because no one wants to see a copy.
Right.
You want to see something fresh. That's
Yeah.
what makes it exciting.
Well, and then the beautiful thing about YouTube and putting out your own content is you can figure that out on your own.
Yeah.
You don't have to get molded by executives and some, show business type people that are going to turn you into a version they think is going to be most marketable. You can figure, and people would probably they would probably tell you to do it differently. They'd probably tell you you got to have more energy, David. You got to wave your hands around a lot.
That's why I don't do those
maybe
shows
wear a
anymore.
bow tie.
I used to do a few of those, and I got sick of it for that exact. I remember I was talking about a supernova once on camera. I went to the show, and the director was behind the camera. I was like, can we just try? No, bigger, bigger. And I was like, that's not what I'm about. Can we just bring it down? And yeah, I think being on YouTube's great because you get to just authentically talk the way you want to talk.
You'll find an audience, I mean, the people, when I first started doing this podcast, everybody was telling me, you can't do 3 hours. It's too long. I'm like, why not? Just don't listen to the whole 3. I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do what I want to do. This is what if I'm talking to Graham Hancock about ancient civilizations, we're not going to talk for 20 minutes, man. We're going to talk for hours and hours and hours. I'm like, what else? What else you know? I'm interested. As long as
you're
I'm
also
interested.
Curious. Yeah, that's what makes it good because you're engaged with the topic. So
And this is the beautiful thing about this time that we live in, that people can just start a YouTube channel and just talk about things that you're fascinated by and things that you're knowledgeable about. And then people track to it.
Yeah, it is kind of sad that kids label YouTuber as the number one job.
Well, they influencer, I think, is the number one
influencer
job.
now?
Yeah.
Because it used to be astronaut, right? For you,
President.
president astronaut, and now YouTuber or social media star is like, my kids both have little YouTube channels. They're obsessed with it. Every day we have to do a premiere of one of their videos they've made around the house, and it's definitely influenced kids now. They aspire for that, but it's has some great elements. It's creative. It's an outlet.
As long as you can keep your shit together, because the interaction with that amount of human beings is also very problematic for young people.
Yeah.
Because just social media, we talked about this the other day, the Jonathan Haidt's book, The Coddling of the American Mind, that shows self-harm, particularly among girls, the suicidal ideation, all the different things that happen to them, anxiety and depression, all rises with the invention of social media. That's times 100 when you're putting out content.
Yeah.
And then especially if you're reading the comment section and reading Reddit threads and reading your emails, that you're going to deal with so much hate and so much anger and so many frustrated, sick, mentally ill people that are reaching out trying to destroy your life for no fucking reason whatsoever. And if you're a young person and you don't know how to put this into a rational you're not equipped for it.
Yeah.
No one is equipped for it. It's not normal. It's not a normal type of interaction to have that many people commenting on you and your life.
Yeah.
And so that can fuck kids up, especially if they're really young and they get into that, and that's how they develop as an adult with that kind of attention. I just think
my kids' channel is only me, I think, that watches this, unfortunately. And I think, but you're totally right. I mean, the feedback loop is potentially really damaging. And I'm so glad that I grew up in an era without cell phones.
Yeah,
right?
me too.
I can't imagine how I would have got through life if I had Twitter at my fingertips or Facebook or whatever it was growing up, because that just adds a whole new stress. And there's, you hear these stories of kids at school where, the boys saying to their girlfriends, well, you need to send me photos of you. And then they get these photos and they send it around the school as a joke. And there's all this kind of weird, fucked up bullying going on. And we didn't have to deal with any of that shit growing up. It's so much simpler. I mean, my son was saying to me, I'm friends with this other kid at camp because he's got 100 subscribers. And that's become a thing, right? How many subscribers or followers you have sort of forms a popularity rank in even real world settings. And, it's messed up. There's so much pressure on the kids in a way we never experienced. And, the more cognitive burden you have like that, the less you can focus on the things you're truly passionate about and discovering what you want to do in your life.
Yeah, it's going to be very challenging for these kids. It's going to be very weird.
Now ChatGPT's adding an extra virtual girlfriends or whatever they'll probably have on there. And
it gets weird. Listen, man, thank you very much for being here. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun.
My pleasure.
Tell everybody your channel, how they can watch your content.
Yeah, sure. My channel's called Cool Worlds. Bit of a mouthful, Cool Worlds. So you can head to youtube.com/@coolworlds. We also have a podcast, the Cool Worlds Lab podcast. And if you want to support a real research program, that's my team, the Cool Worlds Lab at Columbia University. You can just head to coolwordslab.com/support. Cool.
There it is.
Yep. Head over there, and for the price of a coffee per month, you can actually support real astronomy research.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.